Hello, everybody. Welcome to RevUP week 7. I'm really excited about this meeting because this is about open houses, which is super relevant right now because open houses are back, baby. And open houses are really near and dear to me because when I got into real estate 6 years ago, I was new to Tacoma. I knew, maybe 10 people in all of Tacoma. And so I felt really disadvantaged because I didn't have a sphere of influence here. And when you get in the business, everyone's like, when you're new, they're like, oh, focus on your sphere of influence. That's how you're going to be successful in your first year. And I'm like, okay, done. I contacted all 8 of them. Next. And so the only way I could get free, that's not true. One of the only ways I could get free leads was open houses. And I did open houses all the time. I probably did about on average 2.5 a week. Some weeks I'd do 3, some weeks I'd do 2. And that's how, out of my first 12 closings, probably half of them were from open houses. So they really, really, really do work, I promise. And so I'm really excited to talk to you guys about this today. As you know by now, RevUP is a 12-week program. We are just over halfway through. And if you haven't seen the previous weeks, you can go back and watch them, but you don't have to watch them in order to get value from each week. So as I've already said, today we are going to be talking about open houses. We're going to talk about the purpose of an open house, how to select homes to hold open houses, how to prepare for and increase your attendance at open houses, staging and setting up your office, I should say your open house for the day. A step-by-step method for meeting guests and getting an appointment, how to use your Spacio or open house app to convert more prospects into clients, and then how to post open house protocol and follow-up system. And we just had somebody else join. There we go. Okay, as always, we start off RevUp with an affirmation. Today's affirmation is applicable to open houses. It says, I am a professional in appearance, manner, knowledge, and action, which is a big part of doing open houses because you are a stranger likely to almost everyone who's going to go through there. And you want to act like a professional and have an amazing first impression so that they think, man, I want to work with you. Okay, let's jump right in and talk about having success with open houses. So let's first talk about the benefits of an open house. I already mentioned some of them. Number one, it's free lead generation, right? It's an easy way to network and get people into your sphere, right? As I said earlier, I was new to Tacoma when I got into the business. I did not know anybody, and it was a way to start getting to know people. And I'm not joking. I can name people off the top of my head who I'm literally friends with to this day that I met at open houses and sold them a home. Seriously, it's an amazing way to add to your sphere, and it's free. All it costs you is your time. Exposure, it's amazing marketing content. I don't think Facebook Live was even a thing then. If it was, I didn't do it. But if I were to do open houses today, I would absolutely do an open house on the Friday before I did it, and at each open house that I did, or the Friday before, I'd say, hey, this is Isaac Schaefer, Realty One Group Turnkey. I wanted to let you guys know tomorrow at 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. or 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. or whatever you want to do, I am doing an open house at this awesome listing. It's 3 beds, 2 baths. It's in this great area, completely remodeled. Really excited to show it to you. So tune in tomorrow, 1 to 3. That's awesome social media content. It reminds everybody who you're friends with on social media, wow, Isaac's a real estate agent. And it makes them want to tune in. And then the day of the open house, I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm probably going to talk about this later, but the day of the open house, I would get there 20 minutes early, and I would do a tour of the open house and say, hey, welcome to my open house. Let me give you a quick tour. And you'd show the whole house, and you'd say, let me know if you have any questions, and feel free to stop by. I'm here from 1 to 3. That is, first off, awesome exposure. Secondly, it's just great marketing material. We're not all as good as Christy as coming up with amazing social media content. I'm saying me, I'm horrible at coming up with social media content. This is free, easy, amazing content. It's like you're your own HGTV show, right? Everybody loves looking at homes, and showing that to people right on their phone just automatically it's amazing content. It's about as good as it gets. If done properly, they're a great use of your time. Worst case scenario, you get a lot of work done. This is something I always talk to people about. Like, I have had open houses, many that had 1 or 2 or 0 people go through. It's fine. Most of the time I was following up on emails and stuff like that. But there were a couple times I was literally watching Netflix. I remember when I first got into the business, I had just found out about Breaking Bad, and I was like obsessed. And so, no joke, I was like waiting for guests to come, and I'd be watching Breaking Bad, and someone would come, and I'd be like, damn, I was so intrigued. Anyways, that's a total tangent. But seriously, like, if no one comes, what's the worst case? You're just chilling on your phone at an open house. It's not like a huge epic waste of time. You just waste a little bit of time. So,
Isaac?
Yes.
You went by it kind of fast, but can you touch on the difference between soliciting someone else's listing and touring an open and like doing a showing like that?
I'm not following. Sorry, can you clarify?
You were talking about how like you go to people's houses, like their listings, and like take videos and put that as content on your feed. Do you want to talk about the difference between that and soliciting someone's listing?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, either way, if it's not your listing, you have to get permission to do an open house, which we're going to talk about in just a minute. So same thing. If you ever want to do a tour of somebody's listing and post on social media, you do need permission. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Okay, perfect. Sorry, I wasn't trying to be difficult.
No, it's okay. It's just an important point is like, you know, I see a lot of agents, like they'll be like, I'm doing 11 showings this weekend. And then they'll post content from the inside of like a house. It's kind of one thing if it's like a picture or two. It's another thing if you're doing like a whole house tour trying to sell that house.
I agree with you. Yeah. I mean, technically, the rule is technically, if you're going to be marketing somebody else's listing, you need their permission, period. So just get their permission. It does, ideally, it would be in this text or an email so that you have it in writing, but you do need permission. So thank you for saying that. This is really important. Attitude is everything. I am painting a picture as if I was so good at open houses when I started out. I was not. I had major imposter syndrome, and I'm not a shy person. It wasn't hard for me to talk to people. In fact, I don't think I've ever been called shy in my entire life. But I was not really confident, right? I was like, hey, how's it going? Welcome to the open house. And then, they'd ask me questions and I'd be like stuttering and hesitating, because I didn't feel like, who am I to talk about real estate? They assume you're an expert. So be an expert. Know that you're an expert. Know that you are an amazing real estate agent and they'd be lucky to work with you. That's not really what these points say, but well, I guess the second tab is really important. Plan, prepare, and know the property and the market. So if people have questions about the listing and you have done your research on the listing, you reviewed the Form 17 that the seller filled out and everything, and they say, has the basement ever flooded? The answer would be, according to the Form 17, the seller has not disclosed that it's ever flooded. So no, I do not believe it has ever flooded, right? No hesitation. I've already looked at it. Well, what do you think of this area? That's always, as we know, is a very tough question in real estate because we're really, you gotta be careful what you say, right? You can't say, oh, it's a bad area, shouldn't live. But be careful how you answer it, but say, oh my gosh, it's an amazing area. There's parks all around. There's a school 2 blocks away, blah, blah, blah. Grocery stores and shopping, blah, blah, blah. Know the area, right? Don't be like, oh, I actually don't live here. So I'm just here to get leads. That would be a bad thing to say. So know the area and be confident, right? When someone asks you questions, they assume you're an expert, so be an expert. And then dress professionally. That doesn't mean wear a suit. You don't have to wear a suit, but look professional, right? Get a haircut every once in a while. Golly, my hair is a mess recently. I'm getting a haircut tomorrow. I'm very happy. But anyways, dress professionally, look professional. Okay, selecting the property. This is a question I get all the time. So I'm actually going to, well, I'll read this slide and I'm going to show you how I used to do it. So this is acting as if you have the option of being picky, which there's not a lot of inventory. So let's be honest, we don't really have the option of being picky. So in a perfect world, do it in the location that you live or you want to be prospecting, right? That's key. If you know an area a little better, try and find a listing there. That's just common sense. You'll probably have a better open house if it is a more attractive home. So in a perfect world, you would probably want a home in better condition. Something that looks cute and nice, you want an eye catcher. You want people to be like, oh my gosh, that kitchen. You know what I mean? Your listing, if possible. Obviously, that's not always possible, but if you have a listing, it's better because then this is my listing. We're going to talk a little bit more about how you can still kind of give that facade, even if it's not your listing. And then if possible, it's also nice if it's a Realty One Group listing. Not biased on my point. I really don't care, but it is, I always had better luck at our own office listings because it was our sign out front. Anybody who looked up the listing would see our logo and all that. So it kind of makes you feel a little more connected. But again, at this point, there's not a lot of inventory. So don't worry about those last 2 points. If you can, sure. But if you can't, just get an open house. And so let's talk about how to, let's talk about how to do that. So this is what I would do. I would just go into the MLS in Matrix. I would search single family quick active listings. And that's actually it. I would just go active listings, and then I would just go look in the area that I wanted to do an open house. So this is going to show me all the active listings, which is exactly what I want. Sorry, this is all probably kind of obvious to you guys, but I'm going to show you this anyways. Just going to draw a polygon around the area I wanted to be. Let's say I'm prospecting this North End area, all of Old Town and Stadium and all that. Okay, now I have all these active listings. I'm going to click on results. And I'm just going to, one at a time, click on, look at them, find the one that I want. Let's say I find this one that I want to do an open house at. I'm just going to text Paul, say, hi, Paul. This is Isaac Schaefer with Realty One Group. Congratulations on the awesome listing. This is actually a bad example because it's been on list. It's listed for 48 days. So it might be, anyways. Hi, Paul. Isaac Schaefer, Realty One Group. Congrats on your awesome listing on North 32nd. I'd love to do an open house for you this weekend, anytime on Saturday or Sunday or Friday evening or whatever. If you and your seller allow me to do an open house, I will follow up immediately after the open house and let you know how many people viewed the home and any feedback I received, and let you know if any of them are planning on writing in the offers. Thank you in advance. You're going to get a lot of no's. I don't know all the reasons why. I mean, there are some simple reasons, such as the seller does not want an open house. That's fine. And then there will be some people who don't want to give an open house to any other agent because they have the opposite of an abundance mindset, which is lame. But anyways, don't be afraid to ask. Worst case, they're going to say no. They're not going to say no, never call me again. They're just going to say no. And I only did it one at a time. So Thursdays are actually a great day to do this. So if you are planning on doing an open house this weekend, I would do it today, and I'm going to explain why in just a minute. But Thursdays, the listings really start hitting, and I just pick the one I want to do the most. I wait for them to say yes or no. If they don't say yes or no soon, I go on to the next one. And I say, never mind, I found another one. Because you don't want to ask 3 people at once and have all 3 say yes, and you'd be like, oh, never mind. that would look bad. So just something to think about. But that's really it. Everybody asks, that's a really common question. How do I pick which house to do an open house? You just pick a listing that looks good, text the broker. And I don't call them, because if you call them, it puts them on the spot, and I'd like to give them time and be respectful. So that's really it. Any questions about how to do that? Any questions or concerns? Okay, we'll just move on then. Okay, so consider investing in personalized yard sign and open house signs. We do have open house signs at the office. We only have, I think, 20, so they are as supplies last. So if you, we only let people check out 5 at a time, so that we could have up to 4 open houses. But consider getting your own, so you always have them. It's not first come, first serve. It would suck if you committed to an open house on Saturday and then we had all the open house signs checked out. And obviously anything that's branded to you is better because it has your name, your number, your face, or whatever you want to do. Hold open houses on listings in your farm area. We already talked about that. And weekends versus weekdays. I'm not sure I actually agree with that anymore. I guess if I had to pick, I would do open houses on weekends. But I've had some really successful open houses at 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. on a Friday or a Thursday when people are driving home from work. They see an open house sign, and they're like, oh, I'm going to go check it out. There's less competition. There's not as many open houses, and you get more of those just commuters, people just like, oh, I'll just go in. They're not, you know, maybe not working with an agent. They're maybe more long-term buyers, not someone who's looking right now, more looky-loos. But I kind of like the looky-loos because they're less committed to anyone else. They're more naive about the process, and they're more open to just talking to someone. I had way better conversations, whereas Saturday or Sunday, they come into your open house and they've already been to 3 open houses, and they're all nervous that you're some kind of real estate agent who's going to try and get them to sign a buyer's agency agreement on the spot. You know what I mean? So they're a little more defensive. So I love weekday evenings for open houses. Absolutely love them. So they're both good, but.
Isaac?
Yes, ma'am.
What would you think about doing like a neighbors only during the week and then doing a open house for everybody on the weekend?
So I am going to talk about neighbor only open houses in a minute. I don't know how you would, do you mind if I table that? Because I am going to talk about neighbor only open houses in just a minute.
Totally.
And then I'll answer the weekday questions. Does that work?
Yeah, sounds good. You are freezing up
okay,
a teensy bit for me, by the way.
Oh, bummer. I wonder what that's about.
Is that happening to anyone else? Christy Wilson, did you see him glitch a little bit? Okay.
Yeah, it happened to me too, but I just thought it was my internet.
No, Isaac's a little slow.
I am a little slow.
Rude.
It's Friday Junior.
April Fools.
Oh my God. You guys are literally the worst, as Christy's child would say. Was that really all a joke?
No, you really are glitching.
No, you are glitching, but it was also a good time.
This is why I hate this day. If you guys missed the beginning of this meeting, this is why I hate this day. It's so confusing. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's true and what's false. Everything I'm talking about, by the way, is true. None of this is false.
It is.
Okay, well, you're all just gonna have to deal with my glitchiness today.
Okay.
I don't really know the purpose of this slide except to show you how cool open house signs can look. So this is a cool open house sign. If you want an open house sign, talk to Robin and or Rachel, and they will help you design one if you'd like, and order 1 or 2 or 10. Okay, so this is your open house kit. You don't need all these things. These are just some suggestions of things to bring. 6 to 12 personal open house signs. Obviously, the more open house signs you have, the better. Let's go back to this example really quick, because everyone always asks me, where do I put open house signs? It's really not, it's not a science, but it's not that complicated. So I'm going to the property map here, and I am going to try to hit the main streets that are most likely to drive traffic. So I know this area. I know 30th is like really hot. I know Alder's pretty hot. So I'd probably do an open house here on 32nd. I'd do an open house sign here on 30th. You can have them, you know, here on 31st, but you all want to direct them right all the way to Cedar, and then Cedar down to the open house. And you definitely want one in front of the home. So anyways, it's not too complicated. Don't have them too far away, right? You wouldn't want to go all the way up to, 21st and say open house, and then like have the next sign be all the way down here on 32nd. They'd drive 4 blocks and be like, where the hell is the open house? Right? So have it somewhat close. Consider having balloons on the open house signs. It is much more likely to get people to see them. I mean, I definitely tested this. If I don't have time to do balloons on my open house signs, 100% I get less people. For some reason, balloons just bring people in.
Also pinwheels.
Yeah, pinwheels. Robin's done pinwheels that you stick in the ground. Pinwheel. Always have business cards on you. Have area information. This is an awesome thing. There's actually a flyer you can get using List Reports. I don't know if anyone's heard of List Reports, but List Reports is a really cool free website. We're completely not affiliated with them. And they make you put the address in. It doesn't have to be your listing, and it will within like 24 hours, so make sure you do it ahead of time. We'll spit out a really cool looking report, and you can have it with like a walkability report, and it will tell you here are the restaurants nearby and the bars nearby and the grocery stores nearby. Really an awesome resource. They're not as cool looking as the flyers Robin and Rachel designed for open houses, so maybe consider having that and the list reports one, but the list reports one is really, really cool. So look into that.
I also want to quickly say there is a difference between using a website's walk score or saying the property is walking distance from a grocery store or something. It is discriminatory housing language to say that it is, you know, the grocery store is 5 minutes walk away. But if you're using a website's infographic or something and they have that information called like a walkability score, I think you're kind of in a gray area where it's okay to use it.
It's definitely okay to have a walkability score because there's some factor that uses that. So yeah, try to not be subjective, try and use somebody else's criteria, such as a walkability score. So good point. If you have buyer handouts, this is a great idea to have a pre-listing packet or 2 or 3 in your briefcase or whatever. Any of us have briefcases, or educational material for buyers, because oftentimes you'll get in a conversation with someone and they're not ready to really talk too much about it, but say, well, that's awesome that you rent nearby. You know, here's my business card. And also, if you have any questions about buying a home, this is a little handout that tells you a little bit about the process. Here you go, and it's branded towards you. So just good to summarize that, just a good idea to have information that you could give a seller, generic information you can give a buyer, just something to think about. I'm going to pause here and say everything that I'm going to talk about today is best practice, but the best thing you can do is just do a freaking open house, right? Have business cards, put out at least a couple signs and do an open house. Just get yourself out there. Don't feel like it has to be perfect. Don't feel like, well, I can't do an open house this weekend because I don't have all this stuff. You don't need all this stuff. Have flyers at a minimum, have a couple signs at a minimum. This is all best practices, so don't trip over this stuff. Personal marketing material, property disclosure if available. I love this tip. If you go into the supplements on the listing and print out applicable information, like specifically the seller disclosure. Sometimes they'll have like a updated feature list. Print that out and have those and say, hey, yeah, here's the seller disclosure from the seller. That's something that you'd be doing that most other open houses that they're going to aren't doing. And it's one other thing that can separate you. Clipboard and evaluation sheets. Tablet or laptop with open house app. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. Bottled water, that's obviously totally optional. If the home is completely vacant, consider bringing a folding table and a chair or two, so that you're not sitting on the ground when you're waiting for people, and then a table and chair so that people can sign in, which we're going to talk about a little bit later too, and then pens and paper in case anybody wants to write down any information you have. Okay, let's talk about open house preparation and go ahead.
Rachel and I have open house sign-in sheets. We have COVID disclosure sheets. We have signage for your open house. You don't have to look anywhere. Just message us and we'll send it your way.
Yep.
And booties would be a nice consideration.
We have a sign that says booties.
Yes. Sorry. I got distracted. Anyways, I was just going to say, don't reinvent the wheel. If you are looking for promotional content for your open house, just send a message to Rachel and Robin and just ask if they have it. If they don't have it, it might take us a little time to design it. But hey, that's what you pay us for, right? So don't do it. Don't feel like you have to do it yourself. If you want to do it yourself, you're welcome to. If possible, preview the listing ahead of time. If nothing else, obviously, just look at the listing and make sure you know, we already talked about that, know about the listing in the area. Look ahead of time and decide how many signs you need, decide where you're going to put all the different open house signs and decide that ahead of time so you're not like scrambling and running late to your open house. Get sign permission and know the rules. A lot of condominiums won't allow open house signs, which kind of sucks. but that's just the case with some. And then if possible, preview the surrounding available properties. I love that tip. You don't necessarily have to go see them, but know what they are. So then if you are walking through the home with someone and they're like, yeah, you know, I really like the home. It's just, we really need that 4th bedroom. Oh, well, did you see the listing just right down the street that has 4 bedrooms? It's similar square footage, similar everything, but it has 4 bedrooms. No, we didn't see that. Well, I'm going to be out of here at 2:15. If you'd like, I can schedule an appointment at 2:30 to show it to you. Bam. That line, I'm dead serious. That is the best line, and I used it more times than I can count on my 2 hands. It works so well, and it blows their mind. They're like, oh, really? Sure, cool. Yeah, great, that'd be awesome. And now, and I've always said this, when you show someone a home, it takes that relationship to the next level. We've talked about don't show someone a home until you have a pre-approval letter, all that. No, that does not apply here. In this case, you want to impress them. We have not, you're right there anyways, and you're saying, I can be there at 2:30. I'm gonna schedule it right now. Does that work? That's like, yeah, sure. Let's go. Love that line. And that's why you should have other listings in the area. Okay, so this is talking about ahead of time, some ideas you can do to market an area ahead of time. I'm just gonna boil this down to door knocking. I love door knocking ahead of open houses. I think it, again, just like balloons, except even more so, it makes your results so much better on average. When door knocking, just quick asterisks, if you're watching this in a later time, we are still kind of in the middle of COVID. When door knocking during COVID, ring the doorbell and step back, right? Wear a mask just to, you know, be respectful. And what I would do if I were you is I would have content in little bags that you hang on the door, and I would like a flyer. And we're going to talk a little bit more about what's going to be on this flyer in just a second. But you'd have a flyer in a little door hanger bag. You'd hang it on the door. You'd click the doorbell, and you'd step back. They'd open the door and say, "Hey, I just left a door hanger on your house, and I want it." Well, I'm getting right into it, so now we're just going to talk about it. I wanted to let you know I'm doing an open house at your neighbor's house that was just listed. We're going to do an open house, from a public open house from 1 to 3, but from 12 to 1, we're going to do a neighbors only open house. And it's just for your neighbors to be able to see their neighbor's home. So if you're interested, I left a flyer on your door. Feel free to check it out. Okay, absolutely love this strategy. Everything I'm saying today, by the way, is not my idea. I'm just, I'm a major moocher. I mooch these ideas off of much more successful people than me. But it works so well. Very rarely did somebody snap at me and I'd be like, hey, no solicitation. It happened, but like really rarely. Normally they were like, oh, thanks, that's awesome. That's really cool. Because I wasn't asking them for anything. I was just saying, hey, just leaving you a flyer, letting you know the home down the street was listed. And we're doing a just for you neighbors only open house from 12 to 1 before the public open house. It's like, it really is impactful for them. They feel, they really appreciate it, seriously. So let's jump right in and talk about neighbors only open houses, and then I'll probably just be getting ahead of myself in the slides, but since we're already rolling. So we've already talked about, we've been talking about it. I love that strategy. It's a great way to kind of switch the objective of an open house. When most of the time, if you think about an open house, you're thinking my goal is to get buyers, right? Because that's who's going through open houses. Well, now this is switching it around so that you can try and target sellers, neighbors in the area. So the idea is a neighbor then says, oh, cool, I'm gonna go check it out. They have no intention of selling maybe. And they go through the home and they're like, oh yeah, thanks for letting us know about the neighbors only open house. They walk through the house and they're like, this is listed at $550. And you're like, yeah, wow, my home is way better than this. What do you think my home's worth? Cha-ching, now you've got them. And it's hard not to smile when they say something like that, because that's like they don't even know how excited you are in your chest when that happens. It's amazing. And you're like, well, tell me a little bit about your house. What's the address? You write down the address. How many beds and bathrooms? And you're like, wow, you're right. That does sound great. I mean, off the top of my head, you are probably 50, 75,000 bucks. Maybe don't say numbers, but you get my point. You continue the conversation and say, well, tell you what, I'm going to, after this, I'm going to follow up with you and I'll send you a CMA just just to show you what other homes that are more comparable to yours in this area are selling for. And it will hopefully give you an idea of value. And then oftentimes when you say that, they're like, oh, wait, well, I'm not really looking into selling. You're like, oh, no worries. But, you know, maybe you want to refinance or anything like that. I just want to let you know what your home is worth. So what's your phone number? What's your email? And we've talked about this in other meetings. When you ask that question, you don't look up at them. You just keep looking down. Wait for them to say it. Gets awkward, waiting. Okay, perfect. And then you write it down. The key here is don't give them a business card and say, yeah, just text me. They won't text you. I promise they won't. Like maybe 1 out of 10 will. But get their information if at all possible. If they are really hesitating, they won't give it to you. Say, no worries. Give them a flyer, say, circle, here's my information. If you just text me your email, I'll email you a CMA so you know the value of your home. No pressure. I'm not trying to prospect to you. I'm just letting you know what your home value is. You know, I think you'll be surprised. We're always more nervous when we say something like that. What's your email? What's your phone number? We're always more nervous about them objecting to it than they are. Most of the time, they really appreciate it. What's your number so I can send you my digital business card? Oh, yes. Thank you, Robin, for seeing that. Yeah. Send your digital business card. Rachel has sent out emails about the Realty One Group digital business card that I think it's called Haystack. And then you could also send your app or anything like that. And then that way you capture their information. Thank you for saying that, Robin. And I love this last bullet point, invite your circle of influence. Again, great way to remind people who are already in your life that I am a real estate agent, I'm an active real estate agent, and I'm awesome. So send everyone who's in your sphere, send them an email, send them at least post on social media, whatever the case. Hey, I'm doing an open house in this area. I just want to let you know. I also did this to I always did this to all my active buyers. I would personally text them the listing and I'd say, hey, just want to let you know, I know this doesn't meet your criteria, but I'm going to be doing an open house at this home on Saturday. If you want to check it out, it's a pretty cool home. They really appreciated it. They're like, oh, that's awesome. Yeah, we'd love to see it. Because a lot of time your buyers are looking, in the 300, 400 range, and you're doing an open house in the 600 range. And it's like, oh, that's such a cool opportunity to see a home that's, maybe our next home that we're going to purchase. They really appreciate it. You'd be surprised. I think I will jump right back into the neighbor only open house to answer Robin's question. So the funny thing about a neighbors only open house is that you can't literally make it exclusive. You could not post it publicly. You could not put out open house signs for that, but then your neighbors may not know exactly what house it is. So my suggestion, Robin, and I don't think there's any laws or rules against this. My suggestion is I would post on the MLS that the open house was from 1 to 3, and I would tell the neighbors it was 12 to 1 was the neighbors only. But I still put signs out at 11:45. So if people from the public came, who cares? The neighbors don't know. They just feel exclusive. Does that make sense?
Exactly. That's totally what I was sort of saying. It's an excuse to door knock, and it's an excuse to make people feel like there's some sort of exclusivity. They like that.
Exactly. So anytime I would do an open house, I wouldn't ever make an open house just neighbors open house. I would just say first hour is neighbors, second hour or second 2 hours are public. But it's all really a facade just to make them feel exclusive. I almost deleted that first line. I don't understand how you could order postcards and get them out in time for an open house. That would be really planning in advance, which is nearly impossible in this hot of a market where homes fly off the market in 4 days.
I mean, if you knew that you were going to list on a Thursday, you could put out postcards in advance to have an open house on a Saturday.
That's a really good point. Yeah, if you're the listing agent, you're going to list on a Thursday. Yeah, you could order these postcards on Tuesday and have them at their house by Friday. That's a good point. Yeah, that's pretty much the only way it would work. But with other people's listings, that probably wouldn't work because they wouldn't commit to you until Thursday or Friday. So we are already talked about inviting your circle and prospecting, door hangers, and then posting the internet. Posted on all your profiles, LinkedIn, social medias, etc. When you put when you go on the listing and you put an open house on the listing, it will syndicate to all the major real estate broker websites: Zillow, Trulia, Realtor.com, Redfin, etc. So you don't have to do anything extra on this. Okay, coordinate advertising, post to your website, social media. We already talked about that. Advance notice sign writers. I like that idea where with the listing broker's permission, you put a sign out that says open house Saturday, you know, 1 to 3. We've already talked about advance notice flyers, create a video announcement. We've already talked about that, but again, I love Facebook Live for that. Friday, before you door knock, maybe go right in front of the house and say, I'm gonna be doing an open house here tomorrow. Stay tuned if you want to see it. And then boost the ads on Facebook. If you have a budget for that, it's an awesome way. That's such a great piece of content that if you're gonna boost something, that would be a great one to boost. Prepare for the open house, have MLS data sheet, everything about the property, property flyer with your info, not the listing broker's info. Make sure when you leave the open house to take that with you. That would piss off a listing broker. Plat map, if possible, school info. We've already talked about all this. Prepare a CMA on the property and neighborhood update. Debatable. We'll just skip that. Consider a partner for safety. This is obviously something, there's multiple reasons for this, but it's nice to have a lender there or another real estate broker there so you're not alone in the home, especially if it's somewhere a little more rural. You know, always be thinking about your safety, and if you have questions about this, watch Robin's meeting from a couple weeks ago where she talked all about agent safety, but that's really important. I am going to use this opportunity to talk about another huge benefit of having a lender at an open house. I was just talking to Anthony in our office about this, how partnering with a lender is so much better than partnering with an agent on open houses or any other lead generating source. Because if Christy and I partner on an open house and we get a buyer, that's awesome. And I'm not being greedy, but we're splitting that commission 50-50. That's not ideal. But if Christy's a lender and I'm a real estate broker and we're at an open house together and we get one buyer, guess what? She still gets the lending side of the commission. I still get the buyer's agent side of the commission. So that's much more of a win-win. Not saying don't partner with other real estate agents. That's totally fine. I'm not being greedy. I'm just saying a lender's a little more lucrative and they're normally happy to do it. And it's also great to be able to say, oh, well, if you have questions about lending, let's get you in touch with my lender right here. Hey, how does it work? You know, what is the debt to income ratio, et cetera, right? So it's great having that resource right there with you. Also, right now, we can only have 10 people in an open house at a time. So it's nice to have 2 people. So you have one person at the door saying, hey, right now we have 10 people in. So if you could just hang here for just a minute, and then when people leave, you know, that way you guys can kind of divide and conquer. Okay, so that's all the pre-open house stuff. Let's talk about actually conducting the open house. So day of the open house, arrive early. I already talked about this. This is so important. Don't underestimate how much time it takes to put up signs. It does take a while. And then if you want time to go through the open house ahead of time and do a tour, make sure you give yourself time. Stage by stage, I mean, you know, make sure pillows are fluffed and the lights are all on, all the lights, every closet, all the windows are open, the window shades, I mean, not windows, actually the window shades. You know, just make it look nice. And then bring real estate related work or Netflix to do during downtime. Okay, ready, set, action. Here we go. Somebody walks in the house. This is the part that everyone gets anxiety about, and this is the part that I really encourage you after this meeting to go practice on anybody. You can call me and we can role play, talk to your spouse or partner or anybody, and have them work on objection handling, work on them walking into the house and what they could say, so that you're not like, what, right? Practice, seriously. So first you acknowledge them. Hey, come on in. Thanks for coming. Meet and greet. Hi, I'm Isaac Schaefer with Realty One Group Turnkey. Thanks for coming by. Due to COVID-19, we're required to get everybody to sign in. So please, you can either use the open house sign or sign in on paper. I mean, the open house app here on my iPad, or sign in on paper. I'm going to talk about the open house sign in just a second. Engage with them by asking them questions. Do you guys live in the area? Anything like that. And then this one's key, let them explore on their own. Don't feel like you have to follow them. People want a little bit of privacy. Okay, and then confirm that their contact info is received. Watch and listen to them. I don't waste my time on people who are clearly giving me the cold shoulder. There will be plenty of people who will come in that will be friendly and want to talk to you. Focus on them. Because frankly, if somebody comes in and they're being really cold to me and I'm trying really hard to break through the shell and somebody comes in right behind them, I may now be talking to these people who don't really want to talk to me, and I won't have as much of an opportunity to talk to them. And so anyways, choose who you talk to. And if someone's not giving you the time of day, then say, great, enjoy it. That's fine. Ask questions that will lead to appointment opportunities. This is so key. What is the goal of an open house? Yes, it's to find a buyer or seller, but what is really our immediate goal from the prospecting that we're doing is to set up that next appointment. That's why I love the line about, oh, well, did you see the listing across the street? Do you want to see it at 2:30? That's the next appointment. Or they have lending questions. Oh, well, let's set up an appointment for tomorrow if you're interested with my lender, and we'll kind of talk about that, right? That's the whole goal here. And so it's to ask questions that will lead to appointment opportunities. Separate people mentally from people who own, i.e. seller leads, and people who are renting or looking to buy, because you're going to talk to them totally differently, right? Okay, let's talk about the open house app. Realty One Group has a discount with Spacio, but there's tons of free apps out there. They're really cool. If you have an iPad or something, I should have brought my iPad so I can show you guys, but it just says, what's your name, what's your phone number, what's your email, enter, and it's done. And then it captures all that information and puts it in like a spreadsheet for you and stuff. So anyways, you really don't need this. Sign-in sheet is fine. But with COVID right now, you need to get people to sign in. So just, which is kind of nice because you don't have to be a bad guy. If it's not during COVID and we don't need people to sign in, I would just use the line, hey, the seller has requested that everybody who views the home signs in. So if you can please sign in. And then, they may say, well, do I need to give you my phone number and my email? Say just either one, or whatever. They can give you a fake phone number or email. So if someone's really pushing on that, I'd say, that's fine. Don't worry about it. Just put your name down so I can let them know how many people came through, just that simple. Again, that goes back to, if someone's really being difficult, then move on. It's not worth it. Like, if they're really not wanting to give you their phone number, who cares if they do give you their phone number? They're not going to answer. So like, just move on, right? But try and get people to sign in. Okay, so when you're talking to a potential seller or a neighbor, right? And they're talking about, oh my gosh, this home's worth this. Man, my home has to be worth so much more. Or whatever. Wonder what my home is worth. This is a great opportunity to offer a CMA, which, as I said earlier, you will most likely at first get an objection, because they're going to be like, no, I'm not ready to sell. I'm not, I don't want to commit to you, right? So practice these objections ahead of time. When Rachel sends this recap email, she's going to send you a handout that comes with a bunch of objections that you can. My suggestion to you is to have somebody read them to you as if they're objecting, and then prepare what you would respond. So these are some of these objections. Oh, we wouldn't want you to go through any trouble. We're not thinking of selling. We're not ready to sell right now. We know what it's worth. We just had an appraisal. We know what it's worth. We just had an agent do a CMA. It doesn't matter since we're never moving. Okay, so prepare for these objections and practice in the mirror, whatever it takes, but don't be stalled when they occur. We've already talked about this. What's the goal? Make an appointment. We're not trying to sell them a home today. We're just trying to make the next appointment, trying to take this relationship to the next level. For owners, offer them a free market analysis. For renters, buyers, offer them a sample of your buyer system. Just say, hey, if you're curious about the process, I know you were saying that you're in a 6-month lease. That's totally fine. But if you're curious about the process, I'll email you the whole process, start to finish, what it's like to be a buyer, so that you know for the future, right? And as has been the theme throughout RevUP, one of the biggest differences between really successful real estate agents and just people who make it are the ones who are masters at following up. So the key is just a very small part of it is the actual open house. That's the first impression. But again, you're not going to sell them a home at the open house, right? The next part is you follow up, and you follow up just like any other lead until they tell you to stop calling them. Seriously. So return the home as you found it. Brief the seller. Sorry, I got ahead of myself. Return the home as you found it. Brief the seller if they return. Keep it positive. Remember, you shouldn't be contacting another agent's seller. So don't do that unless it's your seller. I mean, obviously, if they arrive when you're still leaving, you can talk to them, but don't message them without the listing broker's permission. I've never done that, but write a note and say thank you. There's obviously but you're not crossing any boundaries there, but I love that idea of just saying thank you for letting me do the open house here. You have a lovely home. I'll be in touch with your listing broker, and then collect all the signs. Okay, this is what I was talking about. This is more of the follow-up I was talking about. I contact every single real estate agent after every single buyer who is not represented by a real estate agent who came through the home. Buyer and seller, anybody who came in, signed in, I contact every single one right after the open house. Hey, this is Isaac Schaefer with Realty One Group. I just want to thank you for coming to the open house. Let me know if you ever need anything, right? Just simple, not even warranting a response. And then the other follow-up I would do is as soon as the house went pending, I would text them again, a link to it, and say, hey, I just wanted to let you know the home went pending. I'll let you know when it sells and what it sold for. So cool. Not many people are doing that. And then it's just an excuse. And now they're looking forward to it. And multiple times people will be like, hey, has it sold yet? No, not yet. I'll let you know as soon as it does. It's just great content. This one's key. Report to the listing agent if applicable. If you're doing it for another listing agent, I always offer to give them a nice report when I'm done saying, hey, we had 37 people view it. 3 of them were represented by agents. 1 of them said they're definitely writing an offer. Of the other people, it was all positive feedback. Some of them mentioned this and this and this. Something like that will really impress me as a listing agent. And if you call me again and say, hey, can I do an open house at your listing? You're my priority because I know you're a professional who does a good job. Adding new prospects captured to your database, follow up. That's pretty much the end. I just have a few final notes. Something that I would do is as people would sign in on the list, if I had a good conversation with somebody, I would literally just make like the tiniest little mark next to their name, because the names are going to blend. And those were the people I would really pursue, right? If you have a good conversation with somebody, focus on those people. Make sure those are the ones who you're really continuing to follow up with. That's a pro tip. Number 2, I said this last time and I got some flack for it, but I'm going to say it again because I know it works. Okay, this is TJ Tuttle's idea. Well, probably not. He's just like me. We steal everything from other smarter people and then we act like it's our idea. Okay, at the open house, I would say sign in. And by the way, when you sign in, you're going to be entered into a pool, and someone's going to get a $50 gift card to Amazon or Starbucks or whatever. Okay, we should probably stop the recording here. No, I'm just kidding. So what I would do is if I had 2 really, really good conversations with two buyers or sellers or whatever who we really connected, and I wanted to take that relationship to the next level, I called both of them and I said, hey, you were randomly drawn. So I'm going to meet you at Starbucks. When are you available? And I'll get you your $50 gift card. And they'd be like, wow, that's freaking awesome. They'd meet me at Starbucks. And now that relationship was just taken to the next level. So anyways, you can decide if you think that's morally acceptable. I think it's totally fine because I'm the one paying the $50. And if you didn't give me the time of day, you're not going to be drawn randomly. Or not randomly in this case. So anyways, I love that tip. I think it's a great use of $50. I guess I'll leave it at that. Silence. I don't know if silence is good in this case or bad. I'm going to take it as.
It's not my favorite. I'm going to be honest. I don't think that's very nice. I would definitely have, if I did that, I would have a second Starbucks card or something for someone I did legitimately draw from the hat.
But they only get $5.
What can you get at Starbucks for $5? Half of a morning bun? That doesn't, you can get drip coffee and that's it.
That's all I drink. So anyways, okay guys, that's it. Thank you for joining. This is one of my favorite meetings of the year of the 12-week program. And as I've said before, if you have questions about open houses and you want to take this to the next level, please feel free to schedule a time to talk with me about it. I really, really love open houses. And again, Robin and Rachel have designed some really amazing material for open houses. And then one last thing, Robin,
Oh.
Rachel, can you please reference list reports. It might be listing reports in the follow-up email, because again, I think that's a really amazing open house, free open house content. You just have to put it in on Thursday because it takes them 24 hours and they're closing the weekend. So you wouldn't get it if you put it in on Friday, if that makes sense. But don't hesitate to ask if you need any content. Because we are getting to the busiest time of year, I would really encourage you to have Rachel and Robin show you how to use Canva in case you are doing an open house like out of nowhere on a Saturday morning and we can't design it for you so that you know how to do it. I guess I want to show you guys one other thing. Again, perfect Sanamia done. Is it best to have a awesome branded Realty One Group open house flyer? Absolutely. But you could also click the listing that you're doing an open house on and click print. Again, I'm not saying this is best, but just so you don't have hiccups here, flyer, and bam, you have a branded flyer, instantaneous, everything about it, and it's branded to me, Isaac Schaefer, Realty One Group Turnkey. That's a flyer that you can make in whatever that was, 20 seconds. So just have something. If you have an open house opportunity that comes up Saturday morning, you do not need to plan way in advance. You can have a successful open house just like that. So anyways, I'm sorry, I'm kind of jumping all around here. As always, we end on the one habit. The one habit is an idea for a habit that you should implement in your business or something like this, but make 3 phone calls, add 3 people to your database, and send 6 handwritten notes out every single day that you're working. And the idea is, as you do this, the business will come.
Isaac?
Yes, ma'am.
I have one more thing.
Perfect.
Just in case COVID comes roaring back and things get shut down, I think that this is a great time to get used to holding virtual opens ahead of time before your actual opens. I'll send Rachel the virtual open house guidebook, and anyone who likes that, she'll send it in the recap for you to look at and get the hang of as well.
Love it. Yeah, no, Robin did a really, really great meeting, probably a year ago about virtual open houses. She did a ton of research. It's really great information. So yeah, if you ever do want to do a virtual open house, or you have maybe a seller who's like, I don't really want to do an open house, and you say, well, how about a virtual open house? It's another great way to, if nothing else, it's not as good. Let's be honest. It's not as good as a public open house where people are coming through and you're getting face to face. But if nothing else, it is great marketing material and it doesn't cost you that much time. Normally virtual open houses are like an hour, right? So it doesn't take much time. It's also, if you are in a listing appointment, it's one more thing you can offer sellers that maybe another real estate agent you're competing against isn't offering. So just something to think about. So thank you for saying that, Robin. Thank you everyone for joining. Happy April Fool's Day. Nothing I said here was false. I can't guarantee that everything else you hear today will be the same, or anything else, actually. God, this day is awful.